Alright, Tomboy Official, what's up? I just wanted to record something a little shorter today. Let's talk a bit about chosen family. What that is, what that looks like. So I've been, I have friends who aren't LGBT people. And they have discussed, we discussed topics like dating, and different topics like, socially, social norms and stuff like that, gender norms. It's really interesting for me, talking to, my cis male straight guy friends about, things like masculinity. And it's just interesting because there's like all these rules that, they're kind of expected to follow. And it's kind of, like, I almost feel like, I don't know if the word's grateful, but I almost feel like, I'm able to bend the rules, do what I want, what feels natural to myself, and not really get a lot of backlash. I mean, yeah, I'm a woman, I'm black, I'm, not a straight black woman. I dress the way that I do, I look the way that I do, I act the way that I do, I have the hobbies that I have. But I honestly, don't think that those things have truly gotten in my way as far as like interacting with people, meeting with people, connecting with people. I feel like once people can get past like the differences, I've kind of noticed, I think it helps people kind of relate, because I feel like it kind of helps me relate to different people on different levels, because maybe they can see some of their own identity in me, like a little bit, like my, straight male friends. I mean, I hope they know they can talk to me about things. Like, there's definitely stuff I'm not gonna understand, right? Like, because I'm not a dude. But I mean, my body's not male. There's certain things that I deal with that they don't deal with. There's certain things physically that they deal with that I don't deal with, and then hormonally and everything. But we've got some shared lived experience that kind of overlaps more than like a very femme presenting cis straight woman might have in common. Like, and because I can bend the rules, and because I just live the way I'm living, it's not really an issue. But I don't know why that kind of came up in my thoughts, but I kind of wanted to talk more about this idea of chosen family, and some reason it was kind of, my mind was kind of connecting somewhat to, just maybe, concepts around discrimination. I think a lot of people who, not even just queer people, a lot of people can, like, not just LGBTQ people, a lot of people can find that chosen family. And I do notice, there's a lot of trends that are being spoken about straight cis males, and the dating pool, and kind of like the complications of the dating world right now. I talk about it with some of my friends about, how the hetero world social norms seem to no longer be working. And if the cis heteros aren't really able to challenge that, I think it's gonna cause a lot of other issues. Like, I don't know if this is true, but I think, the way I'm kind of seeing it is, you know, we're in a period of, I don't know if we want to call it reform, a period of rejuvenation. Something's happening in the air. If you compare 2019, 2018 to how people were just robotic, going through the motions, everybody was just like, following what they were taught to do, what they were already in the mix of doing, just living their life without any questioning of anything. Even those of us who didn't really like what we were doing, a lot of us didn't question it or didn't really actively start thinking of ways to kind of do what we need for ourselves, of exit strategies. Let's get out of this rut, whether that's financially, whether that's relationships, whether that's friendships, family, dynamics, jobs, education, schooling. People were changing so many things about themselves since the Rona and since the lockdown, and since people had so much time to sit inside with themselves and also sit inside the house with people that maybe they never had that much time to spend together for months and months on end, indefinitely, with all these stressors and all these mental health things coming up for all these people. And people noticing, hey, it's okay to engage with mental health services. I was working in mental health at the time, and I saw the shift between people not really knowing before how to easily talk and navigate the mental health system to now it's people are kind of more familiar overall. Not everybody on earth, but I mean, overall, it's a conversation now that people have. People talk about therapy. It's not just I hate to say it, but it's not just in the white communities where people are maybe not even comfortable, but it was in a lot of cultures, this is seen as a Western white people thing. A lot of cultures outside of that do not touch, topics related to therapy. It's whatever's happening in your household, in your environment, in your life, you bring it to your own people in whatever cultural manner that looks like. There's a lot of stereotypical ways of looking at that, but it's there was none of this take it to an outside person that your insurance pays for or whatever. It wasn't really how things were done across cultures. It was a very specific culture of people who were kind of engaging with this method of help. And other people started opening their minds to it with all the things going on, and more and more services were being needed, and more people started engaging. And then you start hearing people talking about toxic traits of certain people. You start hearing women who have their own income talking about what kind of hetero cis straight dude they don't want to be with, because they don't need that. People don't necessarily need to have kids in a lot of parts of the world anymore, and that's becoming an issue with birth rates. People can't afford it. People, if they don't really want to have kids, they don't need to, in a society where I can make money from my bedroom with a computer and some decent Wi-Fi. I don't need a corporation all the time to tell me what to do. I don't need a bunch of hands to help me on a farm. It's we're a lot more independent in some ways, in some places, in some societies these days. It's definitely changed, but people are able to choose more or think more towards what they choose. And I just kind of wanted to talk about some traits that I notice. I think it mostly starts with trust, judgment, not judging really, but trust and just understanding, being willing to be, vulnerable and understanding, I feel like that's something that a lot of biological families don't really have. A lot of biological families have, damages that have happened from the past that people don't really address because it's, the trust has been lost, in a lot of these relationships that people wouldn't consider, with some biological family, people would consider maybe these people are too toxic to keep in my life. And I was thinking about concepts of around toxicity, in the body, if something toxic is coming to you, your body reacts. It can be something as simple as being, I'm not trying to be gross, but something as simple as like constipation, having some bowel and intestinal issues. And something like constipation will back you up. It'll make you feel miserable. You might get headaches. You're going to have some kind of discomfort or tenderness or pain. And, or if you eat the wrong food, a lot of people have experienced food poisoning, right? Or alcohol poisoning, or, that's what, hangovers are. When you have a hangover, like your body's like, get this out of me. Like, I'm poisoned. Like, what's going on? So we kind of know on the physical side what it's like to have something, in our lives that doesn't really sit well with us. And the body tries to get it out, right? In whatever way, whether that's sweating or vomiting or other stuff, like it just tries to get it out. And I think in our social dynamics, we kind of do that too. It's like we see things we don't like sometimes and we're like, I need to get this out of my life. This is toxic. I want it out, but it's not so easy. And so what people start doing is they start separating themselves out. They separate themselves from the things that are healthy, or they separate out the toxic parts and add more or gravitate more towards the things that are healthy, the people that are healthy. And then you start realizing, okay, like these are healthy relationships. This person isn't financially burdening me or taking advantage of me. This person isn't emotionally or psychologically trying to manipulate me or injure me on a regular basis. Like they're actually trying to connect and keep strong, healthy connections. They're not trying to get their egos involved to hurt me. They don't have some weird like thing in their past that they just like where they can't love, where they can't show love. Sorry, I had to close the window. They're just, usually we choose and gravitate, hopefully, towards what's a healthier environment for us. And a lot of times these types of relationships are much healthier. A whole lot healthier. So that's just kind of what I wanted to touch on. I don't know if this is a topic that people kind of gravitate towards more. I know Chosen Family Podcast with Ashley Gavin, Elena Joy, and Mac Injami, like they've been going strong for a while now. Check out their pod if you haven't, if you're into that kind of thing. But they kind of have this ongoing joke that like on that podcast, they're your chosen family. They have this dynamic of like a mother, a son, and a child, but not really, like it's not really how it is. But um, sometimes you have, you know, you have ability to kind of create something that works better for you. I know a lot of us need that. A lot of us rely on those types of relationships, and I would encourage people, to try and challenge themselves with the relationships they have and test it out and see, am I finding, do I have people in my life that, are toxic? Are they poisoning me? Are they making it so that I feel worse about myself on a regular basis? Are they making it so that my life is way more stressful than it needs to be, and they're not really willing to change? Or even if we've discussed boundaries and they're not open to having good boundaries, are those things coming up with these people, or are they able to kind of understand you and meet you, at least most of the way? Like, nobody's going to be perfect, right? But I mean, sometimes you might notice, some people just aren't really trying to get it through their thick skulls, So what do you do then, Do you write off every person that wrongs you? Do you have a method that you try to use to work through it, work with it, deal with it, cope with it? Do you let it get to you to a point where it sets you back on a regular basis? Do other people get in your head so much that you can't, like in a negative way, get in your head so much that you can't see outside of it? Those are kind of the questions I would kind of work with, and keep talking, with yourself about those questions. But yeah, that's kind of all I had to say, because I did notice that, chosen family is a big deal, and especially in a world where people are getting more and more isolated, but they're actually having more and more bravery to kind of dive into these types of thinking and like try to fix things that are not helpful in their lives, putting in that effort, versus just leaving things and, sucking it up like people did in the past and just kind of like ignoring everything that's problematic. Actually trying to like actively make things better and improved for your own health, your own psyche, your own well-being. That's important, because we carry these things on to the next generations, even if you don't have kids, you're going to be working with people. You're eventually going to be in a senior position in your job, or at least senior age in your job, and have people that are lower like ages under you that are newer generations, and they're going to be seeing you and you're going to be interacting with them, and all the things that we don't fix or learn how to deal with, we end up eventually spreading that poison to other people, sometimes, if we can't really manage it. So, and then that affects that generation, and then they go on and they start infecting other people, with that poison. And it's like a virus, it's like a disease, it spreads generationally. And yeah, we do have control over it though. So that's it for now. I gotta get going for my day, and hope that's some interesting food for thought, and thanks for listening.